So welcome everybody. Hello to everybody on Facebook.
Hi.
So I'm very excited. This was sort of a spur of the moment thing. Wanted to touch base with everybody and make sure that everybody knew what was going on with the festival. Talk about the films that we've seen so far this week and last weekend. Talk about the films that are coming up tomorrow and the coming weekend, and get everybody excited about this because this is a lot of fun. We've got so many films this year. We have so many short films. We have so many features. We have so many guests. It's very exciting. So welcome everyone. And we are here. So I want to welcome first Katie Pearce, who's our Vice President and short program coordinator. Hello, Katie.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
And I also want to welcome Tyler Collins. Tyler's the entertainment reporter for Oakville News.
Hi there. Hi, though. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to come and talk about the movies in Milton.
Excellent. All right. So I wanted to start off just by talking generally about what's been going on with the Milton Film Festival, because we've been through some changes since we were here last.
Really? What could possibly be different, Jennifer?
What could possibly go wrong? Yeah. So our original plan was to, of course, be back at the First Ontario Arts Centre Milton at our usual home. And you will see behind me, this is from the last time that we were in the theater. Folks, I literally had a dream last night that I was back in the theater and they were reopening and we were all doing a tour. And I was thinking, but wait, I have this festival roundup with Tyler and Katie, and I have to go home. And I thought, no, I can do it from here. And so, yes, when I woke up, I thought I have to pretend at least that we're back in the theater because it makes me happy to think that. So we were going to be back there, but they decided in their wisdom to keep using it as a COVID vaccination clinic, because what better place to have a COVID vaccination clinic than in the theater? And so we decided, well, we'll just move up the road and we will be at the John Elliott Theater in Georgetown. And we had all that planned, and we had 5 films that we had booked that we were going to have in the theater, and we were giving out postcards and we were talking to local restaurants there, and it was all going to be great. And then everything shut down again. So here we are. We're just going to have to wait a little bit longer to be back in the theater, but that's okay because now we get to join you in your homes. You get to watch the films on your own schedule, at your convenience, on your couch, in bed, wherever you like. So here we are. So we started last Saturday on the 29th. And I just want to, talk about the films that we've seen and what your impressions were. Of course, our opening film was Mass, which has gotten all kinds of awards. In fact, I just saw a thing this morning. The BAFTAs were announced, the British Press Awards, and Anne Dowd has been nominated for best
actress.
Best actress. Okay, yeah. It's an ensemble cast, so you never know what they're going to do with that. And of course, Anne Dowd, we all know from A Handmaid's Tale. So yeah, that's very exciting. So Tyler, you saw the film?
I thought this was an excellent choice for the opening night film, right? This is a great demonstration of what filmmaking can do, right? You want something a little more high profile to get people excited as a welcoming and an opening act to it. And yet welcoming is not really the tone of the piece. No, but it's, I think there's a similar film that came out this year that's been on the festival circuit and now on Showtime called The Humans, which is based on the stage play. And both of these, I think, are great examples of what you can do in the sitting room story. right? How compelling can you make something when you have a single set location and have 4 people talking for extended periods of time? That's a very hard thing to do, to make conversations in a limited setting with no distraction in the background, and have your dialogue be so compelling that you're invested in what the people are saying, even when it's unpleasant, because this is not pleasant subject matter. I think that's a testament to great screenwriting, but especially a testament to the great cast and the main 4 characters that are each playing of it. It's sad, and yet you don't feel morose or heavy by the end of it, which I really like.
Yeah, and it's such I mean, this is the one thing that everybody talks about with this film is this cast. And not only Ann Dowd, but all of them really are just unbelievable, and in such an intense setting.
Yeah, and I think they did a really good job in this film too. I saw a lot of discussion online, some people not liking the fact that there are a few like side characters, like the churchgoers there that interact with the 2 families briefly, and it's a bit awkward. And I watched the film with my family for like the 4th time because I loved it so much, and was curious to hear their thoughts. And we were thinking too that having those characters involved was another reminder of what happened to these 2 families is the unimaginable scenario that nobody wants to experience, of course, a school shooting, right? And having those peripheral characters be so awkward and almost silly at points, to me it was like, well, how would you even act with people like that? You would just, there's never the right thing to say, right? But that those people try to say and do the right things. And just how forgiveness and grief and all that looks different for all 4 of those characters. And I thought that was just beautiful. This is his Fran Kranz's first film. He's like a young guy. He wrote it too, like pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's just incredible, and it's gotten so much buzz this year. It's definitely, I mean, I would not be surprised to see some Oscar nominations coming down for this.
I was thinking whether this would be a contender at the Oscars, and just the final voting ended earlier this week. And knowing how the Oscars play out, normally there has to be some sort of campaign set up by now if you're going to seriously contend for more than one award. While it's very deserving, I unfortunately don't think it's going to break through into a lot of Oscar conversations. That's however, no word against its qualifications and how well made it is. Katie, you said something I found really interesting, where you don't always have the right thing to say. How could you possibly say the right thing in this moment? And it made me think last year of the Oscar-winning animated short film, If Anything Happens, I Love You. If you haven't seen it, it's currently on Netflix and streaming on the service there. Netflix produced the film. And it covers the same subject matter of parents in the aftermath of a school shooting.
Oh,
and it's nearly silent. There's ambient sound, but very little dialogue. And it tunes into that same idea. How could you possibly have the right thing to say when confronting this awful thing that happened? Unfortunately, there are a lot of school shootings that still take place. And this is not the first unit of entertainment that's confronting the subject. Mass, I think, is the best film exploring the subject matter and showing the discussion of it. I think it's done that better than any unit of entertainment that I've seen previously so far on the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. So also on our first day, we had Lost Leonardo, which was one of many changes that we again had to deal with, going from
Happy accident.
I think it's a very happy accident. What a special
seller.
It worked out perfectly. So yeah, it's always a kind of a negotiation with distributors and filmmakers about which films we can show, which films we can stream, which films we can have in the theater. And of course, this year with everything, going back and forth, it was a mess. So but we got really, really lucky with Lost Leonardo. I mean, this is a terrific documentary, so interesting. And anybody who's interested in art, and even if you're not interested in art, if you're interested in, you know,
Crime.
finance and espionage and just like anything you could, there's so many layers to this film, and
If you
it's
like
just
a good
such a
crime
deep
thriller,
dive.
this is
Yeah,
that's what this is.
yeah, yeah. You know, like international monetary funds and oh, what is it they call uh um there are people that set up these warehouses right next to an airport where you can free ports where you can stash your stuff, and it's considered in transit, so you don't have to pay taxes on it, you don't have to own it legally, it just sits there in limbo. I never knew this is fascinating. So I mean, there's so many things I learned watching this film, and I was absolutely fascinated. And of course I am interested in art. I'm a non-graduate of the Ontario College of Art. Um, and even like I said, even if you're not interested in art, it's a fascinating film.
Yeah, and it made me think a lot. I think this would have been shown at our last in-person festival, the film There Are No Fakes, which was also very well received by our audience and generated a lot of discussion because it's such a contentious issue. And, it gave you that same feeling. It's just exciting, but also very grim and bleak, and so many interesting jobs there are out there. Like, just imagine being like doing all the restoration and just all these unique characters that they interviewed. Really interesting. So I was devastated when we had to pull the initial film we had picked, but I was so happy that we got this one because I knew that our audience would really like it.
I think it's also cool with Milton because this is only the second or third place anywhere in Canada that screened the movie. This hasn't been given any major release in Canada, so this is your first chance to see it, and probably your only one until it comes on video on demand. Just quickly too, it's been my favorite documentary I've seen so far, and I love documentary movies. This one's pretty good. It's really well edited, really entertaining, and just some mind-blowing figures about how this true story happened. Highly recommend, and it is still available from now until 6 a.m. on Saturday. So please go rent Lost Leonardo.
Yeah, absolutely. So the second day of the festival, we had another two films become available. One of my personal favorites this year is A Small Fortune. This is one of these odd little Canadian films that has totally flown under the radar, and it's all filmed in PEI. It's apparently the biggest budgeted film that's ever been made in Prince Edward Island, and it has, and when I was writing it up for our catalog, and I don't even, trying to categorize it is very difficult. I mean, it's technically a thriller, but it's not really, and it's got comedic elements, and it's just one of these quirky little, only films like this only get made in Canada, I swear, or maybe in Iceland, I think. This is the kind of film that would go over well in Iceland, I think.
I'm originally from New Brunswick, and I can tell you a lot of the cadence and the way these people behave is so what it's like on the East Coast. It makes me reminiscent of home.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, and of course, again, you can watch this. All these films are available for at least 6 days. So this one, again, won't expire until the weekend. So if you haven't seen it, I don't want to give too much away about the film, but it's a terrific film. It winds up slowly, and by the end of it, you're absolutely on the edge of your seat. One of our big audience favorites this year, and I was really happy to see this because you don't get this with a foreign language film anymore. but I'm Your Man also became available on the second day of the festival. Oh, and I am.
While she comes back from the freeze,
Oh, there you are.
I think
I was
Hi,
like, what do you mean no internet? Oh, the joys of technology.
I was just saying, I desperately want to talk about I'm Your Man, because I'm a sucker for romantic comedies.
Yeah.
And this one was so brilliant.
Yeah, I watched it, like, honestly, the first time I watched it, I enjoyed it, but I was like, this is a little bit overrated. Like, I don't know what people are talking about. I still put it on my list of maybes for the festival. Then I watched it again and liked it more. And then I watched it again 2 nights ago and was just like crying, like happy tears, like the stupid feel-good movie, like these Germans.
I think Maren Eggert and Dan Stevens had a really difficult job selling the realism of this.
Yeah.
And Dan Stevens is always a weird guy. Right? From the projects he did, even going back to Eurovision 2 years ago. Right? A strange movie, but he had a very strange part as this Russian super pop star. And then you think also, the thing most people know him for is Downton Abbey, in which he's very prim and proper.
Yeah.
And yet simultaneously, he was doing Disney's Beauty and the Beast. And if you've seen the behind the scenes stuff of him in the full motion capture suit with the foam padding to, like, he's on stilts. And the way he did the whole movie as a robot. Perfectly suited.
He's a versatile guy. He's a versatile guy.
All these odd duck parts he's played perfectly suited him to be a robot, because he is fully convincing as a person playing a robot playing a person. And it's so endearing while he does.
Just summed it up perfectly. That's amazing. And it was funny, actually. I just saw him. I just noticed today there was a trailer that dropped for I can't remember the title of it. The Margaret Mitchell film, Gaslit. He's in Gaslit.
Huh? Gaslight?
Gaslit.
Gaslit. I don't know.
It's a Watergate thing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember who he plays. I think he plays Liddy. I mean, it's just bizarre. So yeah, he's just kind of everywhere. But I think that's what I think that's what may have drawn people into the film, is that they know Dan Stevens, and and who knew he could speak fluent German? I mean, that's amazing.
He learned German for the movie.
It's incredible. And they even
he did not speak German. He learned it to do this part.
I know.
Which is crazy. But he pulled it off so well.
Yeah. And this is one of like many films we have this year directed by a woman, and I just love this year. I haven't done the analytics on this, but I think this year we have way more than we have in past, and it's great.
Yeah,
I believe it's 6 out of the 14 are directed by women.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really amazing. And every year I always want to see. I think I actually set up a little section. Yeah, there are 4 this year that are directed by women, which is terrific.
Yeah, and some of our short filmmakers too. And
yeah,
it's just, I love to see that each year more of that's being produced, and we get access to it and we can share it with our audience.
We've talked a lot about the features, but I'm just looking at the time, and I want to make sure we do talk about some shorts. Katie, if you had to pick your favorite of all the shorts that have shown so far, what is your favorite of them?
Oh, I feel like this is like talking about saying which of my children is my favorite. And I don't have children, but I just want to preface it by saying I love all of them, and I love everyone who submits to the festival. I will say in the most unbiased way that one of my favorites is Public Notice by Nuri, who is a Milton filmmaker. He's shown his feature film, The Philosopher King, was that our first festival?
I think it was our second.
Feels like eons ago. And it's a very short film, and it's just beautifully shot. Anybody who has grown up in Milton will really appreciate it, and the ode to Westerns and the music used in it. My family also loved that one, and I've been hearing feedback from other audience members about that one. And I also really enjoyed Sarah Cohn's Crumbling, which is one of the more comedic shorts that we have. And I always like to find, it's hard to find a lot of good comedies to bring to the festival. People make mostly serious films these days. So I appreciate anyone who's out there trying to make people laugh, because it's hard to do. And that one made me laugh every time I watched it. But,
yeah. And there was a lovely article actually about the producer
and lead actor.
And lead actor, yes.
Yeah, Stephen Ground. He grew up in Milton. I didn't even know that piece. So very cool stuff. We have short filmmakers from Nova Scotia, Montreal, Darcy Waite from Winnipeg. He's all over APTN and doing big things.
Newfoundland, there's one from
Newfoundland, Milton, Georgetown, Oakville, some Toronto. So I remember doing the shorts years ago, and it's just really grown, and people have heard about us and want to submit to us now, and I just think it's great. And the one thing I do miss about when we're virtual is we don't get to do that in-person networking that we do at the gala at the Arts Center. We all have some snacks and meet new people that we might want to work with. So I just told all the short filmmakers, next year's our big 10-year anniversary, which is unbelievable. So we're gonna have, a big party then, and hopefully they'll come back and they can meet each other IRL, as they say.
And everybody watching should come to the party next year.
Yes,
too.
please.
Oh yes, absolutely.
There'll be cake.
There will be cake. There will definitely be cake.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Maybe some of those Ferrero Rochers you were talking about.
If I wasn't coming earlier, then I certainly just a cake in a big letter M.
Yeah.
M for movies.
Perfect. Awesome. So I know, Tyler, you've got something else coming up, and I think maybe Katie and I can just keep chatting for a little bit anyway. And
Sure.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's always great to have
To talk with a
somebody
fellow
from-
cinephile.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not a lot of press that works in Halton, right? I am the only proper entertainment reporter who works full time in Halton region. So we have the excitement in Oakville and OFA, which is coming up in the last week of June this year. And of course, there's TIFF, which is a phenomenal event for the whole GTA in September. But in the dog days of winter, the fun is happening in Milton. You go further north,
right.
you guys put on such great, for the second year in a row, you've put on such a great virtual spread. And a lot of the big movies, the big hitters are coming up this weekend. If I can give because I've seen some of the ones that are coming up for public tickets on the next few days. One of my favorite movies of all 2021 was Night Raiders.
Yeah.
I got to see it at TIFF on the day it premiered. And holy smokes, this thing took my breath away. I've seen it 3 times now. I bought the movie, so I own it. It's in my top 3 of the best movies I saw last year. And I saw over 200 new movies last year. That's pretty typical for me. I'm seeing 4 to 5 new movies every week.
Nice.
And this is easily in my top 3. If you're a fan of the Hunger Games, it is the Canadian Hunger Games, where the enemy is the residential school system. But it's so well produced, shot, it's action-packed, it's heartfelt, it's got great sci-fi designs. It's brilliant. It's just so exciting and entertaining. And if you, the audience, have not bought a ticket to watch this, you are missing out on the best movie of the Milton Film Festival. I cannot recommend the 10 out of 10 highly enough. And anyone I've shown this to and told about, if it's not a 10, it's a 9.5. I can't recommend how great this movie is and how you absolutely must watch it. On top of all the great movies that are coming up, but I feel like we'd be remiss if I did not give that recommendation to you. If you're looking for something this weekend and you can only pick one, that's too bad. But if you can only pick one, do not miss Night Raiders. Middleman, which is on Sunday, is also a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a quirky film that was filmed in Sudbury. And it's got some really great Canadian actors, Don McKellar and Paul Gross, who are just wonderfully talented guys. But the other thing I should mention, of course, the star of Night Raiders, Elmarie Tailfeathers, right, is one of the directors of the documentary Yesterday that I will not try and pronounce, but the meaning of empathy.
Gimapi Pitsen.
Thank
Say it
you,
again.
Kate.
Gimapi Pitsen.
She is the star of Night Raiders in the fiction film, but she's the director of this real documentary that premiered. And I think it was such a great idea for Milton to pair these movies together to complement each other in the program, so you have a chance to see both the fictionalized kind of Hollywood produced version and then also the real life work that's going on in
And
Canada.
I also like having the two of them because so often the story of Indigenous peoples is this tragic, which it is, tale, and there's no courage and resiliency and all these other things that we know to be true of these communities. And so Gimapi Pitsen is a beautiful documentary that shows both the tragedy and resiliency, and Night Raiders is the even more stylized, action-packed science fiction vision of the future, but also talks more about the past. And I just love the two of those together because they're all different stories, but they're all true, because you can't just have one story of all these different groups of people. They're all different. But I always find the narrative about Indigenous people is often just this one thing. So I hope people take that away if they watch one or both of those films this year.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so exciting. I mean, there's so much happening in Indigenous cinema right now. And I was really excited when I saw that Taika Waititi was one of the producers of Night Raiders, because he of course won the Oscar for Jojo Rabbit, and he has used that success and leveraged that to support Indigenous filmmakers, fellow Indigenous filmmakers all over the world, including Dennis Goulet with Night Raiders. So I'm hoping, and I fully expect that, this year we will have even more Indigenous content and even more Indigenous creative people involved with the festival.
One final anecdote that I found a lot of fun. Years ago, Denny Goulet actually got her start as a film programmer at the Toronto International Film Festival.
Yeah.
Where for 5 years she worked picking films for the festival, and then she got to headline one of the galas. 5 years after she left, here she is with her directorial debut, and what a sensation it's become. It just goes to show the great talent comes from anywhere. Forgive me, I do have to leave, but there's so many other great movies to keep talking about. So if you're with the audience and enjoying this Facebook Live, please stay with Katie and Jennifer. Also, quickly, Oakville News is a wonderful place to read about film events in Halton, film reviews that come out every week. You can read us for free online every day at oakvillenews.org. Great source for news in all of Halton region.
Awesome.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
It was lovely to join the two of you for this Facebook Live tonight.
Great. And we'll see you at Alfred in June.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Bye.
So,
Just
more
us
films.
girls.
More films.
Well, what else? Do we want to
Yeah.
go through some of the others we've already shown? And
Yeah. So, Lapses. I got to talk about Lapses. So Katie, this was one of your finds. Katie is always good at finding these films that, again, have just totally flown under the radar.
Scouring the deep web.
She has. And I mean, she was so excited about this. I just said, yeah, let's do it, without even having seen it. And when I finally did see it, I thought, this is perfect. This is one of these weird little films that, again, doesn't easily get classified into anything. It's sort of a vaguely science fiction, dystopian, political, economic satire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody is commenting, I forget his name, but the lead actor is like a young James Gandolfini.
Oh my God.
And and the lead actress is great. Like, I just love these independent films. I don't know, it's so unique and funny, and it just gets straight to the point. And everybody I know who's watched it has been like, wow, that was great, something different.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it just goes to show you don't need, I don't know what the budget for this is, but
Probably very low.
Probably very low. I mean, I think the most money that they spent was on those giant cubes.
Yeah. And his glasses.
Yeah. I mean, it's all, in the woods with a bunch of cables, and the world that they create, and the story that they put together, that is just such a cutting satire of, our current gig economy, and the situation of temporary workers, and it's funny as hell. So
yeah,
it's a terrific film. If you haven't seen it yet, again, it's still available coming up to this weekend, so make sure you get a ticket for that.
And the one after that, totally changing tone. We have such a variety of genres this year. Was the Canadian thriller The Boathouse. And I've seen ticket sales go up for that one too. We had a wonderful Q&A at the end of that film, hosted by Wendy from our team, and Michaela Karimsky and director Hannah Cheeseman were there. And it's a great chat. You guys got to stick around for those. What did you think of that film, Jen?
I thought it was terrific, and I was very excited to get this film. I think I found this at Sudbury Cinefest. So this is another advantage to the virtual film festival gig, is that we get to attend all these film festivals that we just didn't get to go to before. Because I mean, Sudbury Cinefest is a major Canadian film festival. Nothing against Sudbury, but it's a long drive to Sudbury, and it starts literally the last day of TIFF, which always makes it a logistic nightmare. But now we can see all these great films, and they always have so many terrific Canadian films. They always have a lot of terrific Canadian films made in Northern Ontario. This one is shot just outside Sudbury, I think. And it's terrific. I mean, it's the word Hitchcockian gets thrown around a lot, but I mean, it is very much of that
Rebecca
genre. Oh yeah, very Rebecca, but with a very Canadian twist on it. And Michaela Karimsky, if you've seen Firecrackers, which is one of my all-time favorite Canadian films of the last decade, she was just incandescent in that film. Oh yeah. Just I've been so excited to see what she was going to be doing next, and she is amazing in this. So yeah, definitely check out The Boathouse. It's still running. Like I said, all of our films are available for at least 6 days. So up until Saturday, I guess, you can still get an all access pass. You can still see all 15 screenings. It can be done.
We've done it. Yeah, so after that, yesterday, I guess it was Schemappy Bitsin, The Meaning of Empathy. We already discussed that one a little bit, but it's still available if you want to check it out. And then today we released 2 independent films. First, the documentary by Barry Stevens, Price of Cheap, and also Roads of Ithria, directed by Javier Badillo. I know Jennifer did Q&As. Maybe you want to.
Yeah, so that was so much fun, and I'm usually a little nervous about doing Q&As, but I really wanted to do these because I really enjoyed both films. And again, as Katie said, these are 2 independent films that were submitted to us, and we were very excited to see both of them. Barry Stevens is kind of a familiar face in Canadian film and television. He's been, he was an actor for years. He was a writer. He wrote several terrific Canadian films. And he has since gone into documentary filmmaking. And his film, The Price of Cheap, is, I mean, with everybody talking about supply chains now, people are actually starting to become a little more cognizant of the distance that all of our worldly goods has to travel and the places that it is coming from. And this traces that line back to the actual human people.
The human cost.
Yeah, and what the human cost is, and you know, the situation. I mean, he focuses on the situation in southern India, in Tamil Nadu, and it is basically human slavery. You know, and it's mostly women, but you get families who are in debt for one reason or another, or they're just very poor. They can't afford to you know, pay their rent. They can't afford to, you know, have their daughters married, and so they, you know, they essentially have to sell their daughters into servitude, and they have to endure just horrific abuses. So but it's also a very hopeful film in that it talks about people who are trying to help, and people who are, you know, working actively to alleviate the situation and get these women trained in other lines of work, to get some of these factories shut down where the worst abuses are happening. So it's a terrific film. It's really interesting, and it really makes you think. When I was leading up to the Q&A, I was like checking the labels in my clothes, and no, all of my clothes are made somewhere on the other side of the Pacific. So it's definitely something to be a little more cognizant of. Roads of Ithria is a totally different film. This one was hard to, again, it was kind of hard to categorize, and I wasn't sure about it when just reading about it, and then I saw it and I was completely sucked in. It's about a Syrian combatant who he's injured in an IED blast, and he loses his memory, and so he not only doesn't remember who he is or where he is, he doesn't know which side he's supposed to be fighting for. And the whole thing is very dreamlike. It uses things like, you know, he has this bottle of perfume that he has with him, and he's not sure why, but every time he smells this, more and more of his memories start coming back. So it's a really interesting psychological film. As I said, it's very dreamlike. It's one of those films that kind of defies categorization, but once you know, let yourself into it, it's a really beautiful film. And Javier Badillo is a wonderful guy. I mean, I was talking with him. He's a Venezuelan Canadian. He was born in Venezuela, but he's lived. When I was talking with these two guys, I said, how many different countries have you lived in between the two of you? And I think the answer was like 10. They between the two of them, they've lived in all corners of the world, and they bring that perspective and that experience and that worldview to their craft, both as an actor and for Javier as a director. And Cheyenne, the lead actor, also co-wrote and co-produced the film.
And it's a great performance too. Like, and it's really well shot. It's just really, you never know what you're going to get on Film Freeway. And every year I'm just more and more impressed by the submissions we get and all the great work people are doing.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I found out that they actually know Aisha Kay, who was the star of, yeah. So, you know, these
cool.
guys all know each other. So they because they're in BC, they're all in BC. And Aisha Kay was, of course, the star of Jasmine Road, which we had last year, and has gone on to huge success in all kinds of festivals, and has done really, really well. It was our Audience Choice Award winner last year. And so, you know, it was really nice to sit and chat about Aisha and what she's doing. So
make sure you guys are plugging in your votes for the Audience Choice Awards. I'm always curious to see who comes away with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's, if when you're watching the film, underneath the screen, there's a little thing where you can rate the films from 1 to 5 stars. Make sure you do that because, the winner gets a prize. Not a huge prize. We're not quite
Glory,
TIFF
the
yet.
glory of it all.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So now for our weekend that was supposed to be in person, but it'll be just as special at home.
Exactly. And the opening weekend film is Spencer. And I'm very I did not know what to expect when the first time I saw this film. I really didn't. I think I was expecting sort of, a biopic of Princess Diana. It is not that. It is not that. It is a really deep dive into this woman. And Kristen Stewart, everything you've heard about Kristen Stewart's performance in this is absolutely true. She carries this film basically single-handed. The camera barely leaves her.
Yeah, and it really gets into the psyche as well, right? Not so much what's going on around her, just how she's doing up in here, and of course, my favorite parts of that film are just the beautiful costuming of everyone, just and these outfits that were so, like, we all remember seeing those pictures of her in the paper and all, like, oh, and just to see that on screen again, just beautiful work there, whoever did all the wardrobe for that film too, and just the setting and everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's one of these films that, if you open up to it and you go into it with with not
Open mind.
an open mind, leave your expectations behind. And you know what, this is one of the things that I always love about our festival, is that people get exposed to films that they might not normally see, but because it's part of the festival, I'll check it out. I'll take a look.
Give it a try.
And they come out just in awe. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to just, let yourself enjoy films that are a little bit out of your comfort zone and see what you think. But yeah, like I said, everything you've heard about Kristen Stewart in this film is absolutely true. And it gets to the point where it is so focused on her. And I mean, most of the other characters in the film, you barely see. I think the Queen Elizabeth is on screen for maybe 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Charles is on slightly longer. And the rest of the film is her. It is all her, and her children and the staff that she interacts with, but it's almost all her, and she is so convincing that you feel what she is feeling. So yeah, it is definitely, do not miss Spencer. You will regret it if everybody's talking about this film and you haven't seen it. You need to see this. You really, really do.
That's right. And then the next day, Saturday, we have Night Raiders, the one that everyone's also talking about. I think we've talked about that one a lot. Just go see it. I also think it's a great film too. It has, of course, some violence in it. It's not rated R or anything. But it'd be a great film to show to maybe teenagers, young adults. I just find it tells the story of residential schools in a very accessible way. And obviously there's action in there too, and makes it a little bit more exciting. And yeah, so please be sure to check that one out. And then the same day, we have another exciting one, Lutsu. And this film is Malta's entry for the 2022 Academy Awards. So we'll see what happens there. There's been tons of buzz about it. The lead actor, Jesmark Siluna, I hope I'm saying it right. He's a new actor. He's a real fisherman in Malta. The story follows a poor fisherman who is tempted to sell his beautiful wooden boat and become involved in sort of a black market operation that could help out him and his young partner and their baby, but it could also completely decimate the Mediterranean fish population and disrupt the lifestyle of all of his neighbors. So there's a lot of intrigue there, but it's also beautifully shot, directed by Alex Camilleri, and it made me want to go on a vacation real bad. So if you're looking for an escape, I would highly recommend that one. I haven't heard anything bad about it. Super high rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And Jesmark, the lead actor, picked up, I think, the Best Actor award at Sundance. And he's just doing the rounds, right?
Yeah,
so maybe he won't be a fisherman anymore.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And it's funny, I mean, I've actually seen this compared to The Rider, Chloe Zhao's film, just because it uses, non-professional actors basically playing people who are kind of like themselves, but it sort of blurs that line between narrative fiction and documentary. And it is so effective. It really is. And there's not a lot of filmmakers that can pull it off. Chloe Zhao is one. This is another. And it's, they say that there's no substitute for authenticity, and this is absolutely authentic. So definitely don't.
Part of the world that, I love that the festival is both Canadian and these international films that, like many of us have never even been to this part of the world, and it's just beautiful to look at, despite some of the other darker elements at play in the film. It's just wonderful to look at too. So it'll be really interesting to see what Jesmark and all the other actors in that film end up doing. The lead actress in there is picking up awards too. So check that one out, you guys. Lutsu.
Hey, yeah. I have a dear friend in Ottawa who is Maltese, so I'm definitely gonna poke her and say, so actually she's probably seen it already, but yeah. She should see it at our festival. So, and then the last day, Sunday, what do we got coming up?
You got one of your faves, the Middleman. You got to plug that with your favorites in there.
So it has been my dream always to get Don McKellar to the Milton Film Festival.
Is he watching us right now?
No. Sadly, no. Although I met him once at a TIFF film circuit event. And I actually got a very blurry, poorly lit photo of myself taken with Don McKellar.
We sat closely behind Adam McGoyan a couple of years ago.
Oh,
that's as close as we got, remember?
Oh God, yeah, we've had some near brushes with a bunch of people, but yeah, Don McKellar was kind of my highlight, just because I love him, and he doesn't have a huge role in this, but it, like in everything he does, he's always good. And of course, Paul Gross is always terrific, but Paul Sverhoeven from Kon-Tiki is really the star of this film, and it's actually a Canadian Danish, I can't even remember all the countries, but it's basically sort of Canadian Scandinavian noir, if there is such a thing. And I think it was filmed in Sault Ste. Marie.
I think so.
Yeah,
it's another genre defying.
Yeah, it's sort of a really dark comedy, but also kind of a thriller, and in that, there are dead people,
but still very Canadian feeling.
Oh yes,
and some humor in there too.
Very much. Although Sault Ste. Marie subs in for a generic Rust Belt American town, as one does. but yeah, it's a terrific film. It's, you know, again, it's a slow burn leading up to it, and then by the end of it, you're really on the edge of your seat. So definitely check out The Middleman. And then we have Délicieux. Oh.
Yes, c'est délicieux. It was a joyful finale to the festival. I loved this film the first time I saw it. I'm a little bit biased because I just love food and cooking, and it's directed by Eric Besnard, and it's set in 1789 France, right before La Révolution, and it's about a struggling, underappreciated chef who gets a female protege under his wing and begins teaching her how to cook, and they decide to open up the first restaurant. Now, the first restaurant was actually opened in Paris, not in where this film is set, in the countryside, but it is, you know, historical-esque in its interpretation. And there's lots of really funny scenes between him and the aristocracy, and just how gastronomy and cooking is in those days reserved for the elites, right? So it's just really funny watching the exchanges between all of the rich and mighty being so shocked that someone, there's even a scene in there, they're essentially saying, well, poor people can't enjoy food, regular people don't appreciate it, and it's just very absurd. And the cooking is beautiful to watch, and you're definitely going to want to have some snacks while you're watching it. So don't miss that one, you guys. It's great, and it's very feel good, and we need that this year.
Definitely. So yeah, that's our program this year. You know, and of course there's our short film extravaganza. So if you love short films, and we all love our short films, not only can you watch short films attached to all of these different feature films, you can buy a ticket and see all of them. And we have, what, 18, I think, this year?
Yeah, and I love this because these are the beautiful things that come out of, you know, of course, when we first had to be virtual last year, it was disappointing, all that, but you know, I've always enjoyed pairing the shorts with a feature, like a wine and cheese pairing. We did that in person as well. But the amazing thing about the virtual festival, and I have gotten so much feedback from our audience about how much they love that short film package. Like people of all ages who have reached out to me and they're like, I just love that concept, you know, like not a lot of theaters play all of the shorts that are nominated at the Oscars, right? Like people love to watch this stuff, and it's not really available at the Galaxy cinemas, right?
Yeah.
So I just love that people are really receptive to this, because I'm sure our short filmmakers may worry that online their film might not be seen by as many people, but people really like this format. And so that's one perk of the virtual festival.
Yeah, exactly. And we have so many we have so many more local filmmakers this year. I think every year we've had more and more. I think that first year we had like one poor guy who was like, you know, had lived in Milton for, you know, 3 years and then moved on. And that was our local filmmaker. Yeah. And this year I've lost track. There's so many, and not just Milton, but Georgetown and Oakville. There's one film called Walter that is lovely. I mean, I spend, you know, when I'm not doing this, I'm helping out with the Oakville Film Festival. And the Oakville Film Festival is largely, well, when it's not online, is largely shown at film.ca cinemas, which a lot of people in Milton go to because it's one of the few independent cinemas in the region. And so Walter is a documentary about a 90-year-old man who goes to the movies every single week, sometimes every day of every week at film.ca cinemas, and watches La La Land every single time it comes up. And it's lovely. It's a lovely little film.
Yeah, and we have, you know,
David Cartwright, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, he's actually got 2 films in the festival this year. So, you know, little things like that.
Yeah,
and then, you know, and he interviews the staff at the cinema, and you know, it's like, I know that guy. I've seen that guy. So yeah, there's a lot of really, really terrific local talent. And of course, we with Sheridan College is one of the major sources of filmmakers and animators and people involved with the film industry, and it's right on our doorstep. So we get a lot of filmmakers who are either students or graduates of Sheridan and Ryerson and a bunch of other colleges. So yeah.
Yeah, and another one I really liked was Negative Spaces, directed by Tim Alberts, and it's all about local artist Robert Attrell. And I know some of our audience members would be familiar with this artist's work and maybe have some. I know Carrie from our team has a piece of his up at her place, and so I just love. I don't know. It's just great to see that there's lots of stuff going on in our area, and I'm glad to see people are showcasing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know what else.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Like I said, we've had a lot of films that are playing now. We have a lot of great films that are coming up. Like I said, you can still buy an all access pass and watch all the films if you like, or you can get a 10 film pass and watch most of the films. You can get a 4 film pass if you're not sure. You can watch a few of them, whatever you like. So, check out our website, miltonfilmfest.com, and that'll take you to our Eventive website. Eventive is our streaming platform. Thank you so much to them for making this process so much easier than you could even imagine. I mean, I can't imagine what this would have been like, going from in-person to hybrid to virtual to hybrid to virtual. It hasn't been easy, but it's been so much easier because we're with Eventive. So, and if you have any problems, if you have any technical issues, they are always there. We are always here. Drop us a line. We will set you up. No matter what happens, we will make it so that you can watch our films worry-free.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody who's watching. Thank you so much for being with us. From Jennifer and Katie, have a great evening and enjoy the show, everyone.